I don't have to say shit for ages. I haven't played it.
Best. That's the best way.
And we are live. Hello, welcome to the show. Pete's in the middle of talking about stuff or whatever. Pretty standard operating procedure for Pete. It's been hasn't been a huge week, but we missed a week, so there's a shitload to talk about. I don't want to mess around because I did mess BG around for a couple of weeks there. So serious apologies, man. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you back on so we can talk about some of this Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Yeah, we got some good topics to talk about tonight, so I look forward to it. Thanks for the invite, yeah.
Awesome, man. It's always good to have you back on. Infinite Umbra, another Xbox Infinite. How was your week, man? How was the fix? How's everything going?
Oh, man, good week. Really good week. Been playing a bunch of things. Well, tried to play a bunch of things. Mostly just came down to Spider-Man. I tried the finals. Never loaded up for me after 10 different tries, so I just gave up on it. Unfortunately, for now. I'll try it again. The fix, though, man, we had a really good show yesterday. Had our brothers Red Wolf. We had DC Gaming, and also Mr. Badbit came through, kind of a last second thing. Gave our reviews on Spider-Man and things like that. It was really, really good. Interesting show. Almost 3 hours though.
Did anyone give it a 7? My bad.
Nobody that I know of. Some didn't give it scores. I think myself and Danny were like the only ones that gave it a score. So yeah, but it was really good. Happy to be here with you all. Thanks for being here with us, BG.
Yeah, absolutely.
JediKnightPete, how's your week been? What have you been up to? You've been stuck knees deep in Lords of the Fallen. How's that going for you?
Yeah, if I wasn't here, I would be playing Lords of the Fallen. Game has got me hooked. You guys all know I'm a massive Dark Souls fan, and although it's got its bugs and it's got its quirks, I think the core gameplay is solid, and shout out to the developers because it is very difficult, to make get anywhere near From Software, and I think that they have gotten as close as anyone else has gotten. So absolutely loving that game. Played a little bit of Alan Wake 2. Creepy as fuck. Awesome game. Welcome to the show, BG. Second time round, brother. Good to have you here. Let's do this.
Yeah. I don't know about that comment. Hard to get near From Software. So what do you need to do? You need to have bad graphics, no story, a poor inventory management system.
You're a moron.
Patch it for Xbox Late.
You got to have you got to have bonfires. That's easy. And then slow ass combat with just 2 buttons that you hit with. So is that it doesn't sound difficult. I don't know. He's growling in the background.
You want to warrant that with a response? Right.
Blue, welcome back. How's your week been? What have you been? I never see you on the week that I'm working, so I haven't seen you all week. How's it been? What have you been up to? How's things?
I know you need to work hours that work with my schedule. I think I like that better. Hello, hi chat. Broken Games. Hey, how are you? Thanks for being here. I'm wondering if I make myself blue number that I could go first instead of always being last. It's kind of crap that I'm at the end here.
No. Oh yeah, you just got to put an X in front of Infinite's name. I can do it.
Oh, I like that. There you go. Do that.
This feels, I don't know. I feel like I went back to the 60s for some reason. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, whoa.
I'm getting moved to the back of the bus. I ain't even do nothing. You see this, BG?
Shit.
No, I'm watching.
Well, Pete complains more, right? So I didn't want to put an X in front of his name because never hear the end of it.
That is true. Just for 1 second too, I want to give a big shout out to Shooter when he does listen to this, because he listens to it late and he's got some exciting news today, and just wanted to say hello, and that's awesome, and get home and feel better. So that's it. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. What have you been playing? You didn't even tell us what you've been playing.
Oh, shoot. Umbra, don't worry about the finals not opening. Yeah. Missing much. Played, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours of it. It's not quite what I thought it was. I don't know if we're gonna talk about it or not, but it has potential, but it has a lot of balance issues. And as the expert FPS person on the team, I am the one that you should listen to and no one else. So
sorry, I missed that. Are you talking about me? I heard expert FPS. Is that Was that
no,
me?
no.
You call him? Oh, my bad.
No, I put myself in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
That
never seems to work that way on the leaderboard, but that's cool. Yeah.
Well, you play one game and dip. I see how it is, but that's all right. So, I played the finals. I've been playing COD to get my gun skin for the haunting to take with me to Modern Warfare 3. I'm trying to finish Starfield, and I've been playing Redfall a lot. Don't at me. It's fun. It's good now. It's still janky. Still got some issues.
I wouldn't call it
it's
good.
much better than it was.
I wouldn't say good. But
I didn't say good as in like a 7 out of 10. But it is gooder
Gooder up.
than it was.
Hey, it's fun with friends, Holly.
It's fun. It's not, you know what? I don't think it's a game that you would enjoy that much on your own. But if you have 3 other people to play with, it's a very low-key, chill game that's great for this time of year.
Which game is it again?
That's what I will say. Redfall.
Oh, okay.
He's like, oh. Just like everybody else. But that's all right.
Oops, I didn't mean that to come
I'm
out
here to
that
play
way.
it so you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's like sounded like something I want to play. Oh yeah, never mind.
Said that, yeah.
It is Arcane. You know I like Arcane. Leave Arcane alone, okay?
Oh, look, well, let's jump into the topic, and I'm going to flip it around back to Spider-Man. We had some other stuff we are going to talk about that I had to come. What was going to be first off the rack, but we were talking about Spider-Man in the green room, so I figured we just sort of continue that conversation because it's a good one to have. I haven't played a hell of a lot of Spider-Man. The plan was to jump on that before Alan Wake, but I picked up Alan Wake last night, and then I couldn't get off that. So I played a little bit more of Spider-Man. I think in total I've probably got around about 5 hours, maybe 4 hours in the game. And I have some issues with it. It's a really good game. So let me just open with, it is a really, really good game. Definitely give it a 7. Kidding. I'm not going to rate it yet, but like the opening sequence, which I've got playing on the screen at the moment, is one of the best opening sequences I've ever done. Really, really good. Gets you straight into the combat, sort of gets you straight into the tutorial. And the tutorial is all action-based, so that's brilliant, brilliant. Have a couple of issues with it. Now, outside of the bugs that I had, probably most everyone saw that on Twitter, but like that was a bug, and you'll see that on this show. That actually came from this capture, so you'll see that I wasn't trying to force a bug; it just sort of happened. And of course, you get to post it on Twitter. It's what we do. But here's my main problem with it that I sort of think breaks up the flow and is a bit different from Spider-Man 1. There's a lot of special moves in Spider-Man 1, but there seems to be a few more, or quite a few more in this, and it breaks up the combat from the beat to beat combat where you're actually controlling the character. They've added in, so far I think I'm up to about 4 more special moves or something, and every time you press it, it sort of takes the control away and does, a couple of hits or whatever, and you can sort of chain that one after the other, and I don't know, it just sort of feels a little bit cheap. Not cheap. What's the word for it? It sort of feels like I'm cheating a little bit, or you're a little bit OP. And I get you're Spider-Man, right? And you've got to be like more powerful than everyone else. I mean, the characters are pretty spongy as well, but it's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel right taking that control out of the player's hands. And I know it's a complaint that, you get a lot of guys on the Xbox side sort of throwing towards the PlayStation side, but I sort of really felt it with this. I don't have a problem with QTEs like normally, and this is not absolutely full with QTEs. It has them, of course, but just the special moves that seem to take away, like that on screen there that you're seeing, I don't know, it takes the control out of your hands, and I don't really like that. But again, from what I played, really, really good game. I can't wait to finish it. So I was loving what I played. And that's just, I think, as Infinite's going to say, later on, it's just a nitpick. It's nothing that I think breaks the experience or lessens the experience, just something that I would have preferred they sort of worked around. Big G, I'm going to jump to you because I know you finished the game. Have you platinumed it? Where are you at with it?
I'm at like 80% right now, working on the platinum. Yeah, I mean, I think the game is really great. They've taken a lot of things that they learned from Miles Morales in 2018 and, just expanded and improved upon that. It's definitely their best. The previous stories were good, but this is definitely their best story. The way they take a lot of things from Marvel lore, and things that are canon, but they don't tell the straight story as it was written by like previous authors. They take things that are authentic to the world and true and just put their own spin on it to create an original story. And that's what I really like about it. So it's not anything that's gonna ever offend people, because comic book people can be a little bit snobby. That never happened, and but it's like, oh, that happened, but it just didn't happen that way, and that's how Insomniac crafts their stories. So I think that's great. The combat definitely improved. A lot more moves, a lot more special moves. Pretty much like what they do with Miles Morales, where he had more unique moves versus Peter in 2018. He was kind of like just a generic Spider-Man. Now in this one, they kind of gave him the equivalent to unique powers that Miles has. Some issues that I have with like the combat is like, you might need, since you're 4 hours in, you didn't even encounter this, but later on they add this random mechanic in a boss fight, and it just seems like a really unnecessary thing that it kind of actually messes you up in the combat more than it's meant to help you, but it's like they're trying to help the players so much, and like PlayStation goes crazy with the accessibility thing, making sure everybody can play a game and beat a game. They go a little bit overboards with it. And sometimes like just the animations of the enemy attacks just don't seem to completely align with the parry timing. So that's probably my biggest thing with the combat. But everything else with the the new moves and everything like that, the combos and the special moves, it's great, and the game is beautiful. As far as the bugs, me personally, I live streamed my whole playthrough. I only encountered about like three bugs. Two of them were just visual. They weren't even like gameplay bugs. Somebody walking into a wall, or when I died, my character, his head went into a wall. But as far as like anything that affected gameplay or anything like that, I just didn't see any of the stuff or encounter any of that stuff.
So yeah, well, on that, I sort of wanted to talk about that because I mean, none of them, even the one that I experienced, the jackhammer one, like it's not game breaking, right? I was jackhammering for about a couple of seconds, and it spat me back out because I was at the edge of the tutorial thing. I didn't know I was at the edge. I had no idea, right? But it's sort of a worrying trajectory, right? I mean, maybe not for you, but sort of when I started thinking about it, I was like, did I have any bugs in Spider-Man 1? And I came to Spider-Man 1 pretty late, all right? I think it was 2020 I played Spider-Man 1 that was released in 18. But God of War 2018 didn't have any bugs, right? Spider-Man 1 didn't really have any bugs. They're almost flawless games. Like, I don't remember having, like, anything in there, even heads disappearing into a wall, anything like that. So then when you look at God of War Ragnarok, and I had a shitload of animation bugs and that. Again, nothing game-breaking, right? Nothing, just the standard stuff that we see in the industry. But the PlayStation has sort of been above for the longest time, right? And now we're starting to see that they are having bugs in the games. So to me, I'm sort of thinking that this is a bit of a worrying trajectory. I mean, it could be just because, the slate's pretty bare. There's not much sort of coming down the line. Maybe they were trying to force this game out. Probably this may be the same with Ragnarok. They weren't quite ready to get there. Maybe that's why we're seeing the bugs. But does that worry you that we're starting to see more of these bugs in PlayStation games?
Personally, no, because I haven't I can definitely see what you're talking about with a few more bugs in this game. Like I said, I didn't encounter many of them. But Ragnarok, I'd have like no recollection of any bugs at all. Like damn near none when I played it. So no, I really don't have any worries.
All right. Cool. Infinite Umbra, did you get any bugs in your playthrough? Was your playthrough like, how you feeling about the game? Where you sitting?
Well, I love the game. I did love the game. I came to a 9 out of 10, right? And it possibly should be more like an 8.5. But the reason why I give it a 9 is because with Star Wars, I did the same. Star Wars had a ton of bugs for me and for others too. And, it would have been reasonable to give it an 8.5, but I thought, listen, I hate to use this like this, but I was exhilarated through that game. Honestly, like we talked about it before. Me and people, like we came across parts where we were like where you actually shouted out loud, like, woo, you know what I mean? Pete, you know what I mean by that part. It's a specific part in Star Wars where you felt like that.
Yes.
So I'll say this for, and you know what I mean too, Risk.
Yeah.
But in Spider-Man, with a lot of the set pieces they did, I felt that way a lot. You know what I mean? Because they did a really, really solid job with with set pieces and things like that. Visually, there's a lot of great spots where the game really shines. Some spots not so much, but there are some points like, I don't want to get you risk. You're not far enough for me to say, but there are parts when you're inside interiors later on where you go be like, wow, this looks pretty damn good.
Well, just while you're talking about that, like on set, like there's a lot of bullshit that goes around the community, like, oh, the QTs and it's a movie and all that. I personally like that set piece stuff, right? I think it's good. So
I agree. I think it's how you implement it, right? All how you do it. Like, for instance, your first boss fight, the boss fight right here, it's really well done. You're still going around doing some action. You're still fighting, and the QTE serves the fight that you're doing in the story. So I think it's how they do it, and I think Insomniac has come to a pretty fine science when it comes to that. So I'm all good with that. I thought that was really well handled. Bugs wise, now I had the game crash on me 5 different times, and I didn't have the spider cube. But I did have a few bugs and incidents here and there. Like one that I can think of off the top of my head was I was stopping a guy in a random crime in the car, and by the way, which they stopped where you have to, you formerly had to press square or whatever to stop the car. Now you just accessibility easy, just web them up. That's it. It's done. So it makes it feel, to me, it gives you less incentive to even engage in that type of stuff. It's like just
hang on a minute. So what, when the cars are being, because they used to, so you're talking about a Spider-Man 1, they'd steal a car, and then you got to jump on there, rip the door off, then dodge them a couple of times, punch them,
exactly.
So what do you can just web that shit up now, and you don't need to.
They streamlined it.
It's
very
very
extra steps.
It's very simplified to the point where you just press square, and that's it. You land on it with triangle. That
was cool.
Well, yeah, I think most people actually because most people complain where they got tired of it by the time you finished the last 2 games, people were like sick of doing it. That's probably what I did.
Yeah. I can kind of picture that. And speaking of that, we come to in game. It's kind of tough with open world games, but I think Insomniac, if I had to say their weakness is their in game content has always been a weak point for them. So you get to the end and you do everything. It's like literally you have no incentive to do anything else. But I mean, the game is done, right? So maybe it's like, hey, move on anyway. But
don't say it. Is he gonna say it? The one and done? What?
It kind of is one and done. Now you might want to go back to experience the story and everything again. But if in the sense of I don't have anything else to do in this world, you're going to have that because there's not much to do outside of it. And even the side content missions or whatever, not really like that great to me. There are a few here and there that stand out. I know BG, you know about Howard with the doves and all that. So stuff like that. Like there's some ones,
and
there's some good ones. Yeah. And Earl and maybe even
wrong with one and done games.
Not necessarily, no. Not at all. Actually, I think it depends on the person, though, right? Some people like games that continue on and on. Like a lot of people like multiplayer, for instance, just for that reason. But just giving it the details of it, that it is a one and done type of game in that sense. But so yeah, my nitpicks come down to one, I despised, and that's why I said I can't really find a lot of negatives to this game. That's why I came to a 9. So my nitpicks come down to hating Miles Morales' hair. I wish. I'm like, tragic. What is this? What is this LGBT cut right here? Give me back my man with the fade. Stuff like that. That suit they forced upon you at the end.
Oh my bruh.
You know what I mean?
It's probably one of the top 5 worst looking suits, and they probably it's like they put it on at the end, like, oh, you're gonna love this suit, and meanwhile, it's the most garbage thing you've ever seen.
They really did, like, oh, check this out, and then on top of that, it came out of nowhere. There was no build up for it. He's just like, oh, how you like my new suit? I know Spider-Man was thinking that shit is ugly, but he didn't say it. But that's what I was thinking when he popped up with it. It's like, why did you do this? Like, I didn't get it. Then it's like, yeah, at the one of me. It's like, Miles, you made your own suit in your game in 2018. Or the Miles Morales game, which was 2020, whatever it was. But it's like, why did you need this one? So you could tell it was a forced integration of the Adidas shoe and all that. I just didn't like it. But that's why I say it's nitpicks. Then I'll go down to Mary Jane. Now that's not a nitpick. That to me, I'm tired of the Mary Jane sections. I'm sorry. I think they need to get rid of that. And they even had a very, very defiant attitude toward
Is this,
it. Like,
hang on a minute, is it, so I haven't played up to this. So is this like Mary Jane,
Oh.
there's like a 420 section, or is it like Mary Jane, the character?
yeah, the Mary Jane, the character. Unfortunately, you don't get that high unless you're swinging. But yeah. Yeah, Mary Jane, it's like they are much better. I will, first I guess give that, bit of understanding that it is context rather, that it is an improvement upon past games, what you do with her.
I heard she was a
However,
beast. Is she a beast in this? I heard
she's too much of a beast.
Pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah. Okay.
She's too much. She's so she's so beastly with that damn stun gun. She takes them out faster than Peter and Miles does. It's
Do you
it's like
say she's a Mary Jane?
We've been
she's a
calling her
she's a
Mary
Sue.
Jane Wick. Mary Jane Wick, pretty much. Yeah, that's what she turns
there you
into.
go. Mary Jane Wick. Mary Sue. That's what she is. Because she takes them out effortlessly. And it's like, why are you? That's the thing I don't like about that is, and people can say, well, that's a nitpick. But the thing is, it's like it takes me out of the immersion because, and I'm a comic head too, BG. So you're not wrong when it comes to comic fans on how we'll be extra when it comes to that. But you got Mary Jane being put in these perilous situations that Pete wouldn't want her in at all. And is there one particular point, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one particular point near the very, very end. And it's like, why in God's name did you send her in there to do that? And you're right there, Miles. And you probably know what I mean, but I don't want to give anything
Why'd
away. I
you
just
bump
thought it
it
was
up?
really stupid.
From an 8.5 to a 9, because last time I spoke to you you were on 8.5.
But well, for me, the bugs didn't ultimately hurt it, right? At least mine. There were some people who had game-breaking ones that didn't allow them to complete missions. I never had that, fortunately. Like I know Gene Park had one where he couldn't finish the game, so he had to start over. Me, if I'd have had that happen, I would have gave it 8.5. Yeah. So, but for me, it was just like small, minor bugs. Although I saw some in the community who had worse.
Yeah, but I mean, so with the bug, I mean, it's a lot of bullshit around that. So, like, I posted the bug, right? I did not think it was going to go as viral as it did, but like, everyone posts the bugs of the game. Like, I posted bugs of some of the funniest bugs I've seen were in Starfield, right? So I posted those. So I even made a little like cutscene of the dude falling out of the ship, right?
Right.
But people have been blowing that shit like way out of proportion. Not just for Spider-Man, but for Starfield. Like, it's got a bug. This game is just terrible. It's a 4. Like, I mean that stupid shit sort of needs to stop. But like you post your bugs and make fun of shit like in good faith. But I
agree.
Yeah, people aren't doing it in good faith these days. It's getting a little out of control.
It's a little less
The
of the
action
good
on
faith stuff
screen
too.
looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I
Yeah.
think that's where Spider-Man just stands out. Like the moment-to-moment combat is just fantastic.
Yeah.
And the storytelling is excellent, and I think that's what you want out of a single-player, narrative-driven experience.
I agree. And the thing I'll say though, I think I disagree with you, BG, on the story part. I think they handled a lot of it well. Don't get me wrong. I still think it's the best in the series, but I think part 1's story is still better overall. Just the emotions you get out of that. To me, you don't get that same emotion out of this one overall. But it's, that's whatever really. The combat, like you said, the flow of how you free flowing and flying through the city at speeds you never had. You really play like comic Spider-Man, because Spider-Man can move at like 200 plus miles per hour swinging around, and you definitely feel that in this game. So they did a really good job with that. It's the best it's ever felt. And yeah, so ultimately, it's a little few things. The Mary Jane sections, just get rid of it, please, Insomniac. Stop bringing that back. I didn't care for her model either. It's like I saw the model for her, and then I saw the game model, and it's like, what happened? So, and I'm sorry. I know people are like, oh, well, you supposed to get your rocks off? No, I just don't want, a homely looking Mary Jane. Can I get a regular Mary Jane? She was a model in the comics. Can I get that, please? I don't think that's too much to ask. I'm sorry.
What did you call her? Call her homely.
She's homely looking. I'm just being. Am I wrong, BG? Just be honest. She doesn't look anything like model MJ.
Oh, like probably in the comics? No. I'm not the one. I honestly don't pay much attention to how like women look in games, but no, you're right.
Yeah, and it's things like that. And then my last piece, I'll say this. I didn't like at all. Is you can tell they were kind of going for this kind of closure thing, right? And if you played like Uncharted, you got a sense of closure with Nate. This is kind of aiming toward that. And for me, they made Pete very ineffectual. Like Miles was doing everything, it felt like. And I love Miles, don't get me wrong. But they made it so much so that Pete felt obsolete to me. Like, honestly, there are parts, and you'll see when you get to it, Riz. If Miles...
Pete's always felt a little bit obsolete to me.
Pete!
Yeah.
No!
That's fair.
Moron.
That's fair. That's fair. Fair point. But there is a point, like there are points where Pete would have flat out died had Miles not been there, like multiple times, and it really made him feel like the weaker. Honestly, made him feel really weak as a Spider-Man, and I didn't care for that. And you'll see when you get to it, and you'll probably get what I mean. At least that's how
I think he factually is the weaker Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But no, I get what you mean.
Right.
Yeah. No, I said that at the end of my live stream. I said, like, I called him Electric Jesus because some of the stuff they had him do, it was he's literally like he was the solution to every problem in the game. He's God level. They made him God level in the game.
Yep.
I'm not mad at him because I like him as a character, so I'm not mad at it. But I get get what you're saying. Like, it's like what is it, Deus Ex Machina, where he's the solution for everything.
Yeah, you're right. That's a Deus Ex Machina, and that's what he was. And it was like to the point where I don't want to give too much away. It's just a point toward the end, at the end of it, really, where it's like, Pete, get up, do something. Like, I got a stick and started poking him. Get up, and Miles was doing everything. I'm like, you know what? Just make this Miles Morales Part 2.
Yeah. So there's no balance, is what you're saying.
It felt a little imbalanced to me, pacing wise, as far as how you handle both of them. And I'll say, let me add one more thing. Insomniac would have got a masterpiece. I'm sorry to say this, masterpiece.
Doc Dark's like, that's realistic. Puerto Ricans are powerful. I thought he was Cuban. Isn't he Cuban?
Yeah. Get your stuff straight, Doc. He's Cuban now. But he had Cuban, no black. I know black. But anyway, so the thing I would start. The last point I would say is if Insomniac would have made this an actual multiplayer game where you can play it online with somebody else, a co-op experience, and you're not tethered to each other, you can free form around the map doing whatever, this would have took this game to another stratosphere, I think, personally. Just as an aside, it has nothing to do with the game. It's just my own thoughts on it.
But did they? Yeah, they didn't. They didn't really need to do any more than what they did, right? In my opinion, I haven't finished the game. That's why we're not spoiling stuff, because like it sort of got to Spider-Man 1 was amazing game, right? So no, that's not a pun, but like what more do you need to really do? Just continue that story, and do the story right. That would have been, I think, if I was developing this game, that would have been my focus. Like, just continue on that story and get it right. So disappointing that you're saying that the story just is not quite on the level of 1.
Risk. No one pointed out the length of the game, bro. Like, was that something that affected you, or? I've heard a lot of talk about that on Twitter and stuff about how it's not long enough. There's not enough content there.
BG, well, how long was your playthrough? Oh, here's that bug coming up, by the way. But yeah, how long was your playthrough?
I did. So I did all the side content while I was going through. Probably took me about 20 to 25 hours, which to me is fine. I think they said it's probably 30 hours to platinum. Running through if you only run through the story, I'm pretty sure I've seen somebody run through just the story in 10 hours. But I think you can make the case for a lot of games that they're kind of short if you just go straight story mode and not just think you're robbing yourself if you only do the story mode only in any game. But to me, it's not a problem. But I'm also one of those people, I don't like games being super long. Like, when it comes to single player games, I'm not looking for a game to continually play or even come back to. I want to beat it, and kind of, unless there's DLC, I don't really want to come back to it again because I want to move on to other games. So I like my games like maybe around 20 hours.
Doc Dark says the game's 5 hours gameplay, 5 hours cutscenes.
He called it cute scenes. Cute scenes.
Yeah, he can't tie his Cuban fingers.
And by the way,
and the traversal, the traversal is like, They went off
Top
with that.
notch.
Of course,
They did.
Forgot to mention
But
that.
by the way, Doc, though, he's not just Puerto Rican. I think you need to make sure you add in the brother's black too. You know what I mean? Because I hear people, oh, Puerto Rican, Puerto Rican. It's like, hey, stop ignoring his black lineage, all right? Let's get, you know what I mean? You feel me, right, BG? People keep throwing that out of there. I don't know why.
You see this? You see the skin? Can't ignore it.
Fitty.
That's right. There you go.
Fitty. Look, I'll go to Pete and Blue, but I know you guys are complete Xbots and you refuse to play any PlayStation games ever. I believe the reasons that you guys cited earlier in the week is trash. Did you say they were just apps? All PlayStation games are trash? And I disagree. I couldn't believe that you guys said that, but I mean that's what you said. So it's live now. Everyone knows. We got to move on to the next topic. Before we do, please hit the like button, share us out. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. If you're in Australia, that is 11 a.m. If you're in the West, it is 8 a.m. Unless they start doing daylight savings again, which is just a shit thing. We're going to stop doing that. This is ridiculous. Anyway, it's political. Let's get out of that. Xbox reorganizes, right? So we got a new president, Madam President. Sarah Bond. So was it yesterday or the day before? They seem to have reorganized their the way that things are working. They released a nice little graphic. And the thing that sort of was a bit crazy to me, and a lot of people haven't noticed this, but I mean, Sarah Bond was the big one. I think everyone took a lot of notice of that. Matt Booty's stepping in to take over the game and content studio side of things. Sarah Bond's got president. Matt Booty's got president. If you look at the graphic, and I'll bring it up on screen here, actually Matt Booty's sitting on top of Sarah Bond. And I saw a couple of people saying this, and I'm like, why are they saying that? Like, that's sort of a bit crazy, right? But it seems that they do put more importance on the game content and the studios, which I guess is a positive, right? So that's a good thing.
Yeah, get your booty off of Sarah Bond.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit weird that Sarah Bond isn't sitting above Matt Booty, or are they sitting on the same level? And if they're sitting on the same level, they should probably have a graphic that reflects that. But I don't know if that's the graphic that was released by Xbox or if that's something that The Verge put together.
That's a good point.
No,
actually,
At the same
like-
level. They're at the same level.
Yeah, and they are
They're
on the
all
same
present.
level. Yeah,
it was by Xbox P. Okay.
it was.
Yeah.
I actually done
Yeah,
by
no, I had
Microsoft.
this. Nice. I had the same question. Literally, I asked the same question. I was like, I didn't expect her title to be under here, is the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's not.
at the same level. That's good. Okay.
Well, it says that, so in the release, an email that Spencer released, he said Sarah Bond would lead this team as president of Xbox, bringing together devices, player and creator experiences, platform engineering, strategy, business planning, data and analytics, and business development. So that's sort of driving Xbox itself forward. Booty
Amazing.
will now lead.
She's only been there since 2017.
Yeah,
So what she's done in that small amount of time has just been amazing. She thoroughly deserves the promotion.
Yeah, definitely. And Booty, he will now lead an expanded organization inside Microsoft Gaming that now includes ZeniMax and Bethesda. So I don't think from when I first picked it up, I was sort of a bit confused. I thought he was heading just to ZeniMax and Bethesda, but he's got all of Microsoft Gaming and ZeniMax and Bethesda, which I think is a fucking problem, personally. But it says ZeniMax will continue to operate as a limited integration entity led by Jamie Leder, president and CEO, reporting to Matt. I think that's the problem, man. So maybe in this restructuring, they've given Booty a bigger team to sort of manage things. And I guess this sort of bears out that with the Redfall debacle that Booty didn't have much to do with it. We were putting that on Pete Hines. Pete Hines has since left the company. And that also bears out what we were sort of thinking, that really more Pete Hines had the finger on the button with that one, and he was more to blame. He left, I think it was last week. He said, after 24 years, I've decided my time at Bethesda Softworks has come to an end. I'm retiring and will begin an exciting new chapter of my life, exploring interests and passions, donating my time where I can, and taking more time to enjoy life. This was not a decision I come to easily or quickly or on my own. The on my own bit, I didn't. I put that in there. My bad. But after an amazing career culminating in the incredible launch of Starfield, it feels like the right time. This is certainly not goodbye by any means. My love of Bethesda and its people has never wavered, and I will never stop being a part of this incredible community as we've grown. Thank you to the hundreds of thousands of fans that we've gotten to meet over the past 24 years. Your energy, creativity, support has been such a big part of my journey. I look forward to experiencing the next part of my adventure alongside you. Working with the amazing people, teams, studios at Bethesda has been the greatest experience of my life. I'm incredibly proud of everything we have done together, and I'm genuinely excited to see the amazing things they will create next. Love you guys. Pete's a great guy. Not the Pete on the show, but the Pete Hines that left. Got a chance to talk to the guy, and he was, my intro to him was, I wasn't really into Starfield, don't like Bethesda games, but that showcase was fire, and he just sort of started hitting me with questions about why I didn't like Bethesda games, what Bethesda games I've played, what is it that I don't like. He was just curious as to why I'd never jumped into the Bethesda sort of universe before. This is good conversation. He was a good dude. But this restructuring seems interesting. And pulling it back to Matt Booty, all the guys in the chat are probably going to attack me for this, but we have not seen the proof in the pudding of Xbox's management just yet. We've seen misstep. We've seen them sort of strive forward this generation, but you have still seen the missteps. So then to add more to Matt Booty's position. Slate, completely confident in Sarah Bond. I think she'll do a great job. I've met her too, and she's a champion. And BG, we're going to jump to you on what you think. It's how you're not a big fan of the CEO's soireeing and hanging out with the fan base. I get that. I want to know why that's a problem for you. But also want to get your take on: do you think Matt Booty's the right man to expand, his reach, his job within the company? And if they have, should they give him a bigger team? Because, we have seen a few missteps from Xbox Studios in the past. So what do you think? You think Matt Booty's a man for the job?
He's kind of been that person that has always been around some questionable situations, but you can never point directly to him and absolutely say, okay, he was the problem. So it's kind of like a little unsure there with him, because it's like, okay, you can never, he's always around when something, I don't know, sometimes when bad things happen, but it's never seems to be his fault. So I can't necessarily pin nothing on him. I don't have enough information to pin anything bad on him. He has a resume. He has the experience. I can't necessarily say anything is bad with the choice. Seems like it might be fine. As far as me, like my thing with executives, I don't have any problem with people. My issue is when people act like these executives, like they have a personal relationship with these executives on Twitter. That's where I think things get really weird, when they just speak to them like that's their friend. Like how you talk to your friends in real life, and it's like, bro, these people aren't even answering you. They're literally ignoring you while you type love letters to them, and just I just think it's really weird. That shouldn't be the relationship that people have with these executives.
Okay, well, so
that's my thing.
I definitely want to talk about that, and then I want to go to the panel on the topic and as a broader thing. But so I do talk to Sarah Bond like really occasionally. She does respond, and she did know who I was, which I was surprised about. So I get what you're saying. Like, these are not people we hang out with every day and play games with or chill out with or whatever. But I rolled up to the Xbox show. Sarah saw me and she's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Riskit." She's like, "Oh, Riskit for the biscuit. I know you. How you doing?" And she gave me a big hug. We had a chit chat, got a photo, and she obviously had to move on, right? I'm not saying she's my best mate in the world, but she knew who I was, right? So she has a memory. And I think it's a good thing that they sort of reach out and engage with the community where they choose to, because obviously there's a lot of crazy shit that goes on Twitter, right? It's like a train wreck half the time. I get what you're saying though, right? If you're being, I think as Umbra would put it, a little extra with the I love yous, that may be going too far. Is that what you get?
The idolatry. Yeah, just like I've seen some stuff like, love you, bro. Go rest up, and like you're talking to your father or something like that. It's just weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but if you had a chance to talk to Jimbo, Uncle Jim, you'd probably do it, right?
I would not. I really have. I wouldn't even have anything to really talk to Jim Ryan about.
Maybe not. Why did you leave?
Definitely not on a personal level. I'm definitely like, if I did, I'm not asking him how his day was. Hope you're good and all this stuff. I'm definitely not asking him none of those. Nothing personal. If anything, it will be strictly business.
I was going to say you can't ask him about games because you damn sure don't play that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like he wouldn't be the person at PlayStation I would want to talk to about games either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask, is there anybody there or in gaming that you would want to talk to in the same vein of what you're saying that you don't like? Not necessarily I would how are you and all that type of stuff, but you know what I mean.
Oh, games. I would like to talk to like Herman Holst about games because he's a gamer. He's actually designed games. Jim Ryan is just a suit, right? So like we all know he don't play no game. So like somebody who Herman Holst is, you could call him a suit now, but he's wearing the suit, but he's deep in the gameplay. So I would definitely have some questions and conversations with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. I would say, as far as I do get what you're saying, and some may go a bit overboard, like you said, with the idolatry. But I will say this: I think it's just a different perspective of communities, and I think with the Xbox community, we've seen these execs and such, like Aaron Greenberg. They often communicate and talk with us. They follow you, like, you know what I mean. So I haven't had Phil follow me yet, but I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get old Sarah, the queen, you know what I mean, to follow, just to make somebody else feel away. Like, yeah, I got her following me, sucker. But I don't really feel like, oh man, I got Sarah Bond to respond. But I do think it's a different perspective of communities, and like with us. I say this and I mean that when I say I think the Xbox community still is the better overall community. And that's no disrespect to any other community. I just think we are. And I think it's because of our more tight knitness when it comes to us communicating with each other, being down for each other to come through podcasts or whatever it may be, or just support, from what I've seen at least. I'm sure it's on other communities too, but I just haven't seen the execs on the PlayStation side or Nintendo side do what Xbox does. And that's why I think it probably comes off that way.
It's good to have a line. It's also good to have a line in, right? Like, so if I have a question that's, there's obviously things you can't ask, but I can reach out and ask a question, right? And maybe get an answer. Not always, but maybe you will get an answer. That you don't get that with PlayStation. So yeah, I 100% agree. But I want to switch back to obviously the topic, Blue. And I want to say, what do you think Sarah Bond is the girl for the job? You think Matt Booty's the man for that job, or are you concerned with what Matt Booty's position expanding? I got to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned personally, Blue. So where are you at with it?
Yeah, Sarah Bond, she when you do meet her in person, she has a ton of energy, and she's just she's very unique and very special. And there is something about her, plus her gaming background. She is a gamer, right? She talks a lot about how her dad got her into it when she was young, and the stories that she shares at FanFest and stuff before all the hoopla and the show and all that. They're very endearing, and it just shows that she does have a connection to games, which frankly I think PlayStation is lacking. But I do think that it would be very good for them to get somebody who is a gamer once Jim retires and moves on, so that they do have that connection, because it does help, I think, in the long run. Matt Booty is interesting. I was never quite sure about him. I have always had like a hard time reading him. But then during some of those emails that came out during the court case, I was like, okay, all right. Like, he's a little more cutthroat than you would necessarily get from, just the forward facing PR appearance. And it's good. I like that. Right. But I've been very hesitant with him, not necessarily blaming him, but like Riskit, like you said, there's been a lot of missteps, we could say, from Xbox, and it's I mean, not to write it off, right, because they are ultimately responsible, but going from where they are at the launch of Xbox One to now, there's a lot of growing pains, and you're not going to get everything right, right? And you learn through mistakes. We all do in anything in our life. But then also,
I do. I never made one, but yeah. I mean, that's what I've been told.
well, I saw you make some mistakes in Cocoon, but we won't talk about that. So
I finished it
then
before you.
also
Yeah.
the other you did not. The other thing I will say too is that, you know, I work at an organization of like 2,000 people, and I know what it's like to pivot an organization that size, let alone, you know, something the size of Microsoft, and the development time and all of that stuff that takes, plus adding new people, onboarding new people all the time. So there's that balancing act of production in the meantime on the way to where you want to go versus where you are now, and improving the system as it goes. And I think we've been through a lot of that, and hopefully, fingers crossed, right, that we're getting to the point where it's all starting to fall into place. It seems like it is. I really truly think we're at the cusp of that one every quarter that they keep talking about. But we'll see, right? And people can only prove themselves for as much as they're worth. I do think that it is a good idea to bring ZeniMax officially a little bit. Yes, I do. I think that's good. There is, I have a friend who talks all the time about why I keep the publishing arm from Bethesda, but I understand why they do it. But that being said, it's time will tell, and I think Hargeet put up a good super chat about this too. But
yeah, he did. I'll read it out.
Still don't know.
I'll read it out if it goes to your point. Yeah. So Huggy with a $10 super chat, he says, not much has really changed with Zenny reporting to Matt. The change is simply not reporting directly to Phil. Still being run by Jamie. Let her take things off Phil's plate. Yeah. So I get what he's saying, and I'll jump back to you, Blue. But I think the change is a little deeper than that. I think Matt Booty has agency over Bethesda and ZeniMax, which he didn't have before. So that is a big change, Huggy. And when you look at what he's already got underneath him, and since 2018, the exponential expansion that we have been seeing, that's a lot for someone to take on. And I'm just wondering about size of his team, which is my concern, because everyone needs a team with a skill set. With a particular skill set, to make sure that
was terrible. I just want you to know that.
Particular set of skills.
Whatever.
Could have said that so much better. I'm sorry.
But wait, I just wanted to make another.
Hang on a second.
Really
that hurt my feelings.
Emotional.
I would like an apology on it. No, you're right. Sorry, Blake. Go ahead.
Good luck. You'll be waiting. Right, I have a feeling for a while. No, my other point is, people have kind of sort of written off the Pete Hines retirement because, and Matt Booty's going to step in and all that stuff. And Pete Hines leaving Bethesda is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think people have given that enough credit and enough of what it deserves.
Holly, I just wanted to quickly ask you, do you think that Pete Hines found out that Matt Booty was going to be, the one that he's going to have to report to now, and that affected his decision?
I don't think so. I think, personally, having no knowledge whatsoever, totally conspiracy theory, what I think is when they bought ZeniMax, it was about 2 years ago exactly, right? And I think they had an agreement to get to a certain point, right? Past the contract to settle things, to get things laid out, and to have a roadmap on the integration. And obviously Starfield now is here and it's been shipped. And I just think that Pete Hines possibly had something in his contract that kept him there. But I just think that ZeniMax itself was living the good life on their own. And now they're under this corporate wing. And I do think Microsoft is pretty good about being mostly hands-off with them. But it's still having a boss that you didn't necessarily have before. And it all comes with growing pains that are acceptable to some and not to others. So I think he might have had some sort of contingency on his contract and just decided he didn't want to stay anymore.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I completely agree with this. I think Pete Hines is an emotional guy, and I don't think he likes not steering his own ship or having as much say. So, I mean, maybe Pete, you could be on point there as well, because that sort of goes to what I sort of think about Pete. I think he's pretty emotional, and maybe he was like, I'm not having, my Bethesda not be the top studio. I think lots of stuff might have gone on there. I don't think he would have had a problem directly with Microsoft, though. I think he probably has a problem.
We also know. Sorry.
No, you're right.
We also know he's really mad too that, they've always lived under this bubble where they've shipped on every platform and all of these people got to play their games. And they knew when Microsoft bought them, I'm sure they knew that a lot of this was going to go exclusive, but I don't think they thought about what happened if Microsoft bought somebody else and the same thing didn't happen to them, which is the Activision stuff and those emails that came out. And, there was some emotion behind some of that stuff that Pete had said about, well, why do they get to see all these other people's gaming consoles and we don't, right?
Yeah. So Rikin, I'm going to go to Pete after this. But is it Rikin in the chat? He says, "What did Pete Hines have to do in game development?" And we know Todd is the game brain. So Rikin, you got to understand in companies, it's not always the guys on the ground. It's not just the guys on the ground, right? You need people at the top of the company. This is what PlayStation's really good at, to enable those game developers to do their best work. And Pete is a big part of that. He's a big part of Bethesda's DNA. So it is a big loss. And I think if you're downplaying that, you're probably not giving the man his due. I don't know. Maybe you should look into how business works and business development and all that sort of stuff, because it is important. Those people above you give you the space to do what you need to do. And when you don't get that and you feel stifled, you end up with Gollum or King Kong. Great game, by the way, King Kong. Really, really enjoying it. Pete. What do you think? I mean, can we start calling Sarah Bond Madam President from now on? Whenever we refer to her. And Sarah was the obvious choice, right? Like you said earlier on, she is that obvious choice. I think it's the choice that we've all sort of been expecting, that I think we've sort of been expecting to happen, is Bond move up in the company and be ready to sort of step into Phil's role whenever it is that he decides to leave. And I don't think he's done what he needed to do yet. I don't think he's released that banger. I don't think he's provided that confidence. I don't think he's done everything he needs to do for Xbox. Did I just say Xbox? For us personally, for Xbox to be ready for him to step out. But we saw Sarah sort of coming up into this position. But Matt's the one for me that's I got faith in the guy. I don't know if I have faith in the management, underneath him, in the structure underneath him, and I hope that's been restructured. So how do you see it, Pete? Like, what's your thoughts on the restructure of the company?
I think that Sarah Bond definitely deserves to be where she is. The funny thing I find out of all of this is Sarah Bond was the driving force behind getting all those developers working together to work more like the Sony teams work. Like, so Sony have been brilliant at getting Insomniac, Housemarque, Bend, all their great studios working together to make fantastic games, during the Sean Layden era anyway. And I think all their games, although feel a little bit similar, you could say they're all just blockbusters, fantastic. And I think Sarah Bond was the driving force behind Xbox doing that. And now I feel that she's been moved on to, something completely different, where she's going to be, have a lot to do with where Xbox goes into the future, making the next console, all the business strategy, all that kind of stuff.
Bringing out a pro.
Specifically working with like Jason Ronald on making the next Xbox, because there's not going to be a pro, which is the right move.
Yeah, no, wrong move. Yeah.
So I think that's going to be fantastic. And then Matt Booty, we have talked about Matt Booty a few times, and we said that he might have too much on his plate, and now they're putting more on his plate. So I think that we don't know enough about Matt Booty. I think that this whole restructure is another reason why Microsoft is showing Xbox that they have their complete backing. They are 100%, in gaming now. And I think Huggy's right. It's just to take, some work of Phil Spencer. So instead of reporting to him, they're going to report to Matt Booty. Now, I think it's going to stop things like Redfall, which really should have been delayed. Halo Infinite, that got delayed. Starfield got delayed a year, to stop those things so games come out, better.
Yeah, but
I
is it
suppose
because
the
that
proof's in the pudding.
decisions?
We're not actually going to know.
A decision like that's not going to just stop at Matt Booty. That's going to go all the way to the top. CFOs as well, because there's a big financial cost to delaying games. CFO, CEO, like the whole lot is going to get involved in a decision like delaying a game. And Matt has always said that his, when you do hear him talk, which is pretty rare, he's not one of those Xbox execs that actually engages with the community. But this is why we don't know a lot about him, like personality wise. But he's supposed to facilitate the studios doing what they do. And so far, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's a tiger, man. We saw the emails, but like, is he the guy that facilitates the studios in a way that gets out their best work? Like, for
I
a
don't
long,
think we know enough about him.
yeah, for a long
Like,
time,
and
there's only 3
obviously have
studios.
faith in him. Yeah, Microsoft obviously have faith in him. Like they have promoted him to president. That name is not given lightly within the Microsoft brand. So there is something about Matt Booty that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
And I tend to have faith in what Xbox is doing, in what Phil Spencer's doing. I think the team he's he has surrounding him now. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. The Bethesda acquisition, the Obsidian acquisition, all these acquisitions they've made.
Yeah. But okay. So I'm devil's advocating here. So yeah. So acquisitions, well and fine. Like they can buy stuff. But can they make? I mean, Starfield, you can't put on them whether it's good or bad, because that was, again, say Redfall, we can't put on them good or bad, because again, But what we can say right now with Xbox Studios themselves, what have they released lately? And that's been under Matt Booty. Like, so when you look at what Matt Booty's remit is and what he has produced, like, a direct line to him. So you can't put Starfield on him. You can't give him Redfall. None of that. Where's Gears? Like, what the fuck happened at 343? Like, all of these questions, I think, are a direct line to Matt Booty. So, yeah, I understand that what you're saying, and that Microsoft obviously knows, more than we know. But there's still, as someone from the outside looking in, and look, I met Matt Booty. He was a really good dude, like great guy. Not talking about.
I think what happened to Halo is on Bonnie Ross and nobody else, and I think she was such a force within Xbox that I don't think that she would have had. I think she would have had autonomy to do whatever she wanted to do in 343, and I think most of that falls on her head. I don't think it really goes back to Matt Booty.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can say that with 343, but where's Gears? So what? So then you're saying that he's really
have said that they're working on Unreal Engine 5 and they're making sure that they know everything about it before they put out Gears 6, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a good thing, but we have to see until when Gears 6 comes out. My point is, we haven't seen anything from Matt Booty that would lead us to have confidence. I mean, as simple as that. Like, and now we see he's getting more studios. I mean, if you are not even a gamer, but from a pure business perspective, outside, maybe managing stock market, looking at stocks, whatever it is, you've got a stake in the business that's not in games. You would be a little bit like curious, nervous, concerned as to having Matt Booty. Yeah. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
We've spoken about this. We've said that we think that he needs, somebody else helping him. He's got too many studios under him. But like I said, I think Xbox knows what they're doing, and they've seen something in him. They've promoted him to president. So there's definitely a big restructure going on within Xbox at the moment, within Microsoft at the moment. And I agree, Risk. The proof's going to be in the pudding, and the next couple of years are really going to determine whether they've made the right choices or the wrong choices.
Just let me answer this
forward.
in the chat, though, Blue, because I'll jump to you because I heard you wanted to say something there. But Po Radusai says, where is Gears? Like, what the fuck kind of Xbox guys are y'all? Unreal 5 is where all Xbox games are. He likes you, Umbra. All games have been delayed. Listen, Dusa, I'm not a shell. All right. So I call it how I see it. I'm not going to cap for a corporation. I don't do that. You might see me play around on Twitter and have a laugh. But that's all jokes. When it comes to talking serious about games, you're going to get my honest opinion, whether it's for or against Xbox, for or against PlayStation. I give PlayStation their flowers when they deserve it and their smoke, and I give Xbox their flowers when they deserve it and their smoke. So if honesty and integrity is not your thing, then all good, man. This is probably not the podcast for you. Blue?
I was just going to say, just thinking about like you were talking about, where are the studios that were currently under Microsoft, the games that should be coming from them. And I was thinking about Ninja Theory, and then I thought about the showcase, right? And unfortunately, the major dud at the showcase, not completely the worst, but was just the unfortunate Hellblade 2 trailer that we got at the showcase. And not saying it was ugly,
but where's
or
the combat?
Look good, but where's the combat, right? Everybody's been saying that forever. Where's the combat? Just show it. And then it's like, you wonder who makes the decisions about what goes into the trailers for the showcase. Is that Matt Booty? I mean, I'm sure it's a team, but you know what I'm saying? Like, is that under his purview then? I don't know. It's a good question though, but things like that. Or
I would have thought that Matt
missteps,
Booty would have
right?
put the showcase together or a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
or told the studios, like, you know what, this time your trailer needs to have this kind of theme, or show this type of whatever. You need to show combat this time because everybody's asking for it, right?
I think a lot of people have got Hellblade backwards, and they think it's going to be combat-driven game, and I don't think it's meant to.
I don't
be
at
that way.
all. I don't think it's going to be.
Well, I mean, not from what we've seen.
No.
My thing on it with Matt Booty, I don't think he does any of that. I don't think he's like, hey, we need to have this. He just doesn't seem like that kind of guy. The time where he mentioned it in an interview where he was saying, hey, guys, do you have anything we could show for such and such?
Fable.
And they were like, no.
Yeah,
you remember that. And they were like, no, we're not showing anything. And he's like,
okay.
Right. I don't think he's that guy that'd be like, hey, I'm gonna need to see some gameplay. I just don't think he's gonna do that. Sorry to say it. However, my impression of him was slightly incorrect, because after we saw those emails where he was like a shark, I was like, whoa, didn't expect him to talk like that.
That's what I want to see. Right?
Exactly. So that surprised me. So I guess we not knowing enough about the inner workings behind the scenes, you kind of get led in a different direction. But I do agree with you, Risk, and that I am concerned, because I asked this on Twitter. I said, congrats to Sarah Bunn, blah, 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 setting her up to, take over Phil. I think it's pretty obvious at this point, once he finally retires or whatever. I hope he stays around for a while, but still. With Matt Booty, I said, is he going to be able to handle all of these studios? And I don't think that's unfair to say. It's not just because of past issues where, and also I would disagree with you, Pete. I don't think it's squarely on Bunny Ross. I think that's a group effort. I think that has something to do with multiple people, because it's not like she's out there just making the decisions only and creating the game. That's a group.
No, I agree
failure.
with that, but I don't think that you put that on to Matt Booty, because I just think that she had so much power within Xbox that he wouldn't have had to have reported
behind
her.
Microsoft in general, probably, right? Because she had been there for Microsoft for a long time. Now, I agree with you there, but I would say this. If we as fans can see what they were trying to put out for Halo and saw it as issues, how did Matt Booty and team not see that? So that's where I put some fault on him. It's like, okay, but you see this. The point of letting these studios just have freedom and free reign, even when you see the product is looking bad, to a flagship title. This is why I was discussing with people before we had a past podcast, Risk, when I was like, there's a difference between a hit on your IP and a flagship. Halo is a flagship. You cannot let that go the way Halo Infinite was going. Now they're correcting it now. Gladly, season 5, excellent, everything, it's going right. I'm glad they got Pierre in the position he's in.
Yeah, 3 years. It only took 3 years. It's all good.
Exactly, but it shouldn't have taken that long, right? You don't have that happen to a flagship. You just don't allow that to happen, and so that's why I say to me it's a group thing. Now, Bunny is going to fall back on her because Heavy is the head, right? But then again, also that goes to Matt Booty, and it makes me wonder, what then are you doing behind the scenes that you're not stopping a lot of that in its tracks and
Well,
saying, and
Well,
finding out what the issues
we
are.
know what Microsoft was doing. Oh, sorry, Holly, you go.
no, sorry. As I say, like, yes, some of that culpability for any studio always falls on Matt because he is the boss, right?
Mhm.
But as the boss, you're only good as the people that report to you. And so you have to trust the people that you have. And I will also tell you from personal experience that sometimes you want to get rid of somebody because you see the dumpster fire that's happening or coming towards you, and you can't because you're not allowed because your boss or somebody at the company has said, no, right? Like they're fine. Don't touch them. You can't touch them. So you don't know, right? But
We don't know
my
enough.
boss
That much I
often
agree.
tells me off for touching people. Sorry, keep me up.
Yes,
Shame.
touching
Look,
people is
we
bad.
know that Microsoft was micromanaging studios before, and I think that they've moved on a little bit now. And what they were trying to do is give these studios a little bit more autonomy to be, the arbiters of their own destiny. And then I think we've spoken about this numerous times, where we think that they might have given them too much autonomy, and now it needs to
Mhm.
be pulled back a little bit, and now they
Absolutely.
need to, actually not micromanage them, but at least
Be more hands-on.
have, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think they need to find that balance. I don't think they've found that balance yet, but hopefully this restructure gets us there.
Yeah, but
I was going to say one other. Go ahead, Riz.
it's horses for courses, right? Because one studio you might be able to let them go. Like I imagine, Coalition. I was just giving Matt Booty shit for not getting out of Gears game, but on the other token, like Coalition, I feel like as a studio, you probably could just let them do their thing, and they're going to come out with a banger, right? But then, say for instance, Compulsion, I would be looking at that studio closely because
No, I think that's perfectly said. Honestly, that's exactly what it comes down to. Be more hands-on for those that need it, right? And 343 was one of those that needed it at that time. Now I think they got it together now, but at the time they needed it. Like you said, Compulsion may have needed, and the initiative may need that. You know what I mean? Because we haven't seen anything from that yet. So and there's a lot of issues there because of staffing and things that they need to get done. So all those things, right? So it's a case by case basis. But I would say this too, Pete. You actually asked the question I asked yesterday, which was, and tinfoil hat fully on, of course. It was, do you think Pete Hines left because he knew about the restructuring about to happen and he did not want to have to report to Matt Booty? I actually did think that. That's actually literally what I asked yesterday. And I think that might have some truth to it because it still strikes me as weird. And I said this before, that he suddenly got a promotion just a year ago and now suddenly he's retiring. It seems a little sudden, right after, they're bought off by Microsoft and things like that, a year in, I'm going to get out of here now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We don't have anything concrete, just speculation.
I can get down with that actually. I can feed that into the narrative that I've got sort of in my head for Pete Hines. Like, he's an emotional guy. He's probably like, fuck this. this ain't it. I got 2 years on my contract. I'm going to ride it out. And then Matt Booty is coming in and he's like, oh, fuck this.
Like, hell no, I didn't sign up for this shit.
So that's sort of where I think Heinze was at. And then when you look at Sarah Bond, like moving up into the position, and being sort of groomed for to take over for Phil Spencer, I think you can look back at Jim Ryan just to take a shot here and say, well, that's how it's normally done. People don't just retire off the bat. So, a little bit more evidence to throw into the fire about Jimbo getting fired. Blue. Actually, I'm going to go to Blue because there's one other question I got to ask the Chicagoans on the panel that piqued my interest.
Well, I want to say something really fast. I think Xbox would be very smart to pick Pete Hines' brain on their marketing stuff, because I do think that Bethesda did a better job marketing and with their release date windows than Microsoft has.
Yeah,
not even a question. That's absolutely the truth.
Yeah,
I just made a great point. Surprised you guys haven't thought that maybe Hines was asked to retire.
Oh yeah, it's possible.
I don't see why though. But why would he be?
Well, he did sort of mess up that trial, right? He did sort of mess up in the trial there, and well, not really. He just sent some emails that were overly emotional. You can see the emotion, you know.
Definitely see that.
And then you got to think, what are his personal interactions like? Maybe he was just getting emotional and like this dude either needs therapy or a new job.
Now, see, when we speculated that the last time, Holly, you were like, nah. Remember that? Remember last time we said that? We said, do you think maybe they wanted to get Pete? Pete was causing issues. Yeah, see,
I don't.
You know what I mean?
I don't think. Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
just saying.
wants to move on either,
Pete has too much respect behind his name, and he's a good name to have on your roster.
Yeah, that's true.
I just think, and plus, but it's not like Microsoft and Bethesda didn't work together for many, many years before this, right? Like, I just and everybody gets emotional. I don't think anything in his emails was a fireable offense.
Oh yeah, not in the emails, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Good point to Redfall, but one bad launch of a game doesn't end a career, especially when you've got the name Pete Hines behind you and you've got that many successes behind your name.
Yeah, absolutely. And he probably didn't have his eye. Look as well. He probably didn't have his eye on the ball with that one, and that would be understandable. You were being acquired, so there's obviously a lot happening more than what's normally happening within your company. So I get that too. Yeah,
and don't forget, Arcane was a purchase later on in ZeniMax too. It's not like they've been under the ZeniMax umbrella since the beginning either, right? And so Arcane has its own
structure,
personality, right? And so Bethesda and them probably worked okay together, but when Bethesda pulled the we need to have live service games and went to all of their studios, including Arcane, and said, make a live service game, it didn't necessarily rub so well with all of them, right?
I mean, they've been with them for a while.
That's a great point, and that's exactly what Xbox is.
Just to throw it out there,
what Xbox is trying to stop.
But the main guy from Arcane left like 3 or 4 years afterwards when Prey was shipped and stuff, and he was like, I can't do this.
Pete Hines did, right? Pete Hines did. Umbra, you were saying?
No, I was saying that Arcane had been with them since 2010, so I don't know if I would be like, oh, well, they're kind of new to them. I would also add, too, beside Redfall, I mean, obviously there was the Fallout 76 debacle, too. Now, that wasn't, of course, attributed to Microsoft necessarily, but that was an issue, too, that maybe they, had an issue with him with. So it wasn't just one game failure under his watch. It would be those two. Now, they turned it around in some ways, of course, but, I
don't know. I think Fallout 76 is trash, but yep.
It was
no, it's not.
Well, it hurt him a lot, and I listened to Matty Plays talk about it, and he was talking about how Pete he pushed away from the community after that because people were on his bumper so heavy after Fallout 76's debacle that he stopped communicating the way he used to with the fans. So I think it's been maybe just his retirement is just him just wanting to get out of it in general because he's just like, man, I had enough.
Well, you know what I mean? You can't have retirement without being tired, right? Maybe he's just tired of it. That's very poignant. Good work, Riskit. There was one.
God. Tomatoes, you all know what to do.
I don't know. I feel like
tomatoes in the chat.
It probably deserves a bit of that. I got one question right before we move on to the next. I got 2 questions actually. I got a question I want to point to BG, but because I haven't got his thoughts on this, but I want to point a question to the Chicagoans, the Chi-Towners on the panel. What's this? Enigmatic Dream said ketchup on the hot dog. That's like saying it's ketchup on the hot dog. Are you trying to tell me you guys don't put ketchup on your hot dogs?
We don't prefer it. It is an
unwritten
rule. Yeah, see,
But I'm not from here originally, so
that's a Chicago thing.
It's a Chicago thing.
Chicago
we don't put ketchup
is this
on
weird
hot
thing
about y'all are weirdos.
Yeah,
what?
Y'all put hot.
Hold on.
Ketchup on a hot dog is perfectly acceptable.
That's the main thing. I like.
That's the
they
main
use mustard
thing.
Here. They do mustard and what is it? It's mustard
I like
and
both.
onions and dill relish and
sports pepper,
and a peppercino or whatever they are, right?
Yeah, sports pepper they call them for like.
Oh, okay.
So this is weird. That's weird, right?
But yeah. Listen, it's more weird to put ketchup on a hot dog.
They're good. No, it's not. No, that's not true.
What is wrong
but
with
they
y'all?
are good.
It's been like that since the inception.
They're good.
That's blasphemy. That's just blasphemy.
So it's
I haven't put ketchup on a hot dog since I was like, I don't know, what, 5? It's just, it should be against the law.
he's saying we're immature. What's well, I'll put pineapple on my pizza and I'll put ketchup on a hot dog and I'll eat Vegemite with avocados. So, I think we can establish that I will eat anything. But we can also establish that Chicagoans are just a strange breed of American. BG, I wanted to.
I expected you to be on my side there, Blue. I didn't know that you were perpetrating. I didn't know.
I didn't grow up here, so I'm not claiming this weirdness here. But they are good without ketchup.
Yeah.
But ketchup is also perfectly fine.
Yeah, I can hear some.
And Colin, you can also put mayo on it. It's good too.
No, what the? No. See, mayo and chips, that's a weird thing. It's a weird English thing. They all do that. In Australia, we add
mayo on a
like
hot
mayo
dog.
on chips.
Mayo on a hot dog is
really
awesome.
like mayo on chips.
No,
I know
aioli
it's
on chips
weird,
is
but I enjoy it.
aioli on chips is good.
Well, what's the difference?
One's
between
got garlic
aioli
in it, the other
and
one,
mayo?
it
There's
just-
no
You mean
difference,
chips
bro.
or
It's oil and
fries?
egg.
Like, clear up your language. What is it? Is it fries or is it chips? What are you talking about?
Well, fries. We're talking about fries, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I admittedly get slightly annoyed when I hear chips too. I'm like, what are you talking about here? When you
'Cause
say
that's
Just
chips?
like biscuits and cookies.
Pommes
Right.
frites. Well, no, a biscuit is a biscuit. It's not a weird floury thing that's dipped in
What?
gravy. It's a biscuit is a. I mean, the English invented the biscuits. I think we should go with their and the language, right? So let's go with their, whatever they and they got tea with bickies. That's just how it is. This weird flour dough thing that you guys. It's a dumpling. That's what you got. You're calling dumplings biscuits, which is just also weird. It's BG. I got a question. I mean, we just derailed the show there with that ketchup thing, but quick question. Redfall, redemption arcs. How do you feel about it? I'll just give you my quick personal thing is I'm pretty tired of seeing communities accept redemption arcs like Cyberpunk. And then to me, that just allows or enables publishers to release broken, buggy games and then be like, we'll fix it later because we know we can. So I would prefer they drop Redfall and just move on. What are your thoughts on redemption arcs?
I mean, I think it's better for the developer to go back and deliver the game that they originally promised you on. But me personally, I usually never go back. Like I'm a huge Battlefield fan, but any Battlefield that has launched badly, I never ended up going back. Like I love 3, love Battlefield 1.
Mm-hmm.
Even like 4 was good, but it had some issues at launch.
No, it's
and
bad
I never
launch.
ended up I never ended up going back. Even though people say it was great like a few months after, I never ended up going back. Same thing with 2042. It's they finally have the game at where they should have had it at launch, but I can't go back. I can't. You have to, because you poisoned me, and you've turned me off. I don't want to go back and pick up what you fixed. This like sloppy seconds. I can't. I just personally can't do it.
No,
But
I agree.
great. It's a little bit better for single player games. I think single player games. I could probably go back to ones that launched botchy, but multiplayer games, no. You're done.
Yeah. No, like I agree. I'm a huge Battlefield. I was a Battlefield guy for years, and after 5, I did go back and play 4, but people forget how bad 4 was, or when it launched.
Mm-hmm.
It was unplayable. It was bad. But yeah, I mean, 3 was where it was at. 1 was awesome as well, but yeah, when they hit 5 in 2042, they just sort of ruined it. And I agree, man. I ain't going back. I'm not giving them my time because I agree. They messed it up at the beginning, just like Fallout 76 was trash today at launch. Trash today. And no one should ever play that game. Blue, any comments?
Yes, many comments. Yes, you're just wrong. And actually, BG, I'll push this back to you and just ask you a question about like in Battlefield is dependent on its player base, right? Because it's multiplayer and it's so. Do you feel the same way about single player experiences? Like, let's say Cyberpunk, for example, right? Where it's not dependent on having a community in the game to enjoy yourself.
No, like I said, I'll go back like months later, or I'll just wait, right? Because Jedi, even though I didn't wait long enough, I waited till the 6th patch for Jedi, and that still wasn't a good patch. 6 patches in, it was the holy 7th one that finally fixed the game, and I just, I still got screwed because I still had to play the game how it was. So with single player games, yeah, I'll usually just wait, especially this year when there's been
So
so
you'll
many
give it a
good
second
games.
chance. Yeah.
Yeah, usually I don't like to wait on games and don't like to wait on patches. But yeah, for games that I'm interested in, single player games, yeah, I'll wait for patches and then go back later. But multiplayer, no.
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah,
play Jedi
yeah.
Survivor on PlayStation?
Except you
or
should
on
go play Fallout 76 because
I played it on PC. I played it on PC after like the 6th patch, and
Oh,
it was still
it was
struggling to
trashed
like.
on PC, bro.
It
Yeah,
was still
terrible.
struggling to like get a. I was still dropping like I have a 3080, and I was still dropping below 60 frames at certain points of the game. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with, I 110% agree with the not going back to multiplayer. And the 2023, this has been the year where you can sort of 1-2 miss a few and then come back to it if you want to. Because it's been stacked. I think we're sort of coming to I think Alan Wake might be the last one. No, Space Marines 2, if it comes this year. I'm not confident. We do got to move on to the next topic, but before we do, guys, please hit the like button, share us out if you're first time here, hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live at 8 p.m. EST every Friday. If you are in Australia, in the East, it is 11 a.m. If you're in the West Coast, Best Coast, 8 a.m.
Real quick, I just wanted to touch on like the whole about people retirement thing. I don't know, like to me, I just default to like old people retire, and that could be naive of me. But when it comes to like Pete Hines, Jim, and there's been a couple other people, unless I get direct information that they were like fired or forced out, I'm just like they're old, they're retired. I don't know. I just automatically assume that.
But it's
But maybe I'm naive.
It's how you do it, right? So when you look at like what's going on with Sarah and what's going on with Phil, we haven't really seen any grooming in PlayStation. Oh, there's a joke there. I'm not gonna say it, but we haven't really seen any grooming in PlayStation for someone to come up and take that next step, right? And you would normally sort of.
I'd love Herman to get the job.
Yeah, but you'd sort of see something, right? I mean, I know PlayStation's pretty secretive on their machinations behind the scenes, but like you would see something that would lead you to believe that this is the next guy, right? But we haven't seen anything like that, and then they go and announce someone from Sony proper. That's weird, right? I mean, it's not what's happening; it's how it happened. That didn't give you any pause, BG?
No, because to me, it's hard for me to believe they fired Jim Ryan, a guy that has given them record profits, breaking sales records, guided them through the guy that has made you the most money. To me,
here we go.
That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so
I just can't see that.
We're going to do this because we went back forward on Twitter about it. So I'm going to push back on that. Like anything that you see PlayStation has done since Ryan, I think Ryan came in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. I think you're still seeing, even with regards to Spider-Man 2, that probably wasn't green lit by Sean Layden, but it's green lit because of Sean Layden, right? Because he set in place, Spider-Man, God of War, all of this, everything you see that PlayStation's done, aside from what is the name of that handheld? I can't think of it right now. The Portal.
The Portal.
Yeah,
Portal.
like
Portal. Yeah.
I don't think you can give Jim credit for, like, you can't give him credit for sales. You can't give him credit for the player base that you already had.
I disagree. See, I agree you can't give him credit for the games. I highly disagree that you can't give him credit for the sales, because he's definitely the one who made some of, whether or not you agree with it, the pricing and the price increases of things, and also he is the one who guided PlayStation through the constrictions of the pandemic. So I think money wise, and he is a money guy. That's his reputation. That's what people actually don't like about him. He's like the bottom line guy at PlayStation. He's not really the creative or artistic guy. So I absolutely agree. You don't give him no credit for games, but for sales and making PlayStation sell, granted, yeah, it was going to sell as long as they didn't like stab themselves in their own foot. Even if it's the case that, let's say, he's not the cause. You don't fire somebody for not doing anything bad either, if you get what I'm saying. If you're not going to give him credit for the sales and the games, there was not necessarily any reason you kick a guy out either.
I don't know. Well, I mean,
There was no reason. Yeah.
Well, there is a reason.
I don't know about that. Yeah, like
What
if
reason?
they didn't agree with what they were doing going forward with all their guest games? I mean, I don't credit him with the sales or any of that because I think how could you fail after the Sean Layden era of the PlayStation 4? The name that recognition that they got, even they had an amazing name recognition after PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, really, they've had it forever, but my goodness, the PlayStation 4 just elevated to another level. I mean, banger after banger after banger, like just amazing games that'll go down in gaming history. So how you don't succeed after a generation like that is almost impossible, and I think Jim Ryan inherited all of that.
Yeah, and
I think just to add to this, just to add really quick, I've come around to the thought that after seeing what happened with Connie Booth now and the gas situation, I think Jim is the one that proposed that and came together with his teams to say, yeah, this is the direction we're going to go, which is his first direction game-wise, right? I think we can agree. And I think Sony, after what we've heard from rumblings, the studios behind them didn't like that. They want to keep to the style of gaming that they're making and the freedom they have doing that. And Sony probably was like, nah, we don't like your vision here. And he was like, look, I've had enough. I don't like traveling around like this anymore anyway. I'm out of here. Fuck it. Because it was very unceremonious. And that's when I see something that's unceremonious, to me, it speaks of something going wrong.
That's another load of BS,
Yeah,
really. I mean, I don't want to travel. I don't want to travel anymore. First class is killing me. These scotches are just, I just can't do it.
I mean, I just disagree with that because you could say the same thing about the Xbox 360 going into the Xbox One generation. How could you mess that up? Somebody did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and one person specifically did.
That's true. That's true.
But the argument also is based on what is the tailwater effect of the last leadership, right? Because things don't change overnight. Somebody doesn't just take over and then things change. So how long are you riding the wave of what the last person did or didn't do?
Yeah, and my thing is, if we're going to say that Jim Ryan is riding the wave of Sean Layden because we can't see the effects of Jim Ryan yet, then I don't think they would fire a guy if you haven't seen the results of what of the decisions he's made yet either. Because if that's the case, we're not going to see the effects of what Jim Ryan has done or any decisions he's made or anything he's greenlit. That'll be the next 3-4 years.
100% true. So, that's 100% true. But this is where I was gonna pivot. I think we lost Pete.
Yeah, I got rid of him.
Oh yeah, he jumped into a totally different thing. I don't know what the. But look, I was going to say that you can immediately gauge the interest or the response to what you're planning, right? And I think when we look at this, let's be honest about that showcase. It was not good. It was not a good showcase, and it did not show a good direction. And I don't think it did. It achieved its goal, which is the goal of any showcase, which is to get the community excited for what's coming next. And that, I think, it had the opposite effect, right? I mean, and if you're running Sony, that's got to cause you concern. So when you say he hasn't really done anything for the positive, I mean, if we want to accept that, I can go with you on sales. I can go with you a little bit on sales, because he did navigate the chip shortage. So that's fair. I definitely give you that.
And he's grown PlayStation Studios versus the last guys who shut down a bunch.
He didn't really have a choice because if he didn't do that, then he wouldn't be able to compete.
Definitely had a choice.
Well, he wouldn't be able to compete with Xbox. I mean, especially what they had coming down the pipeline when it comes to acquisitions. But that's by the by, right? So at least he grew the studios, great. He did attribute some sales to him, great. But when you look at what's coming down the pipeline and the excitement of the community, and games is what it's about, right? So I think you can definitely say that there's something there for Sony itself to be concerned about, and so it's good.
Yeah, that's why I said what I said.
Yeah.
That's why I said I think the rumors. A lot of people try to write off the rumor. Oh, the insider. The only insiders that have been right have been people who said something that's unfortunately negative on PlayStation. Anything that's been positive, like event has been wrong every single time. But the ones where it's actually shady stuff that might have happened, it has turned out to be correct almost every single time. People wrote off David Jaffe, correct. He was correct. So, and I say this to say, this is why I say I don't think he just was fired, BG. I agree, because I came around to that, right? And then I said, no, you're right. He brought in record profits by being very anti-consumer. I'm joking, but not that joking. But, but
it's not false.
Yeah, right. I'm being facetious, but it's kind of true, right? But then on top of that, my thinking is, what did he bring as far as the gaming? And that's what we come back to, and we can all agree his vision hasn't come to fruition yet, and that's where we see the gas situation. And now we're hearing from David Jaffe, they blamed Connie for the gas situation. To me, I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And when I think he retired, like I said, very unceremoniously like that, I think it played into what his decision to leave too, as far as the gas situation and his vision going with that, which would have been obviously brought them more money if it takes off. We can all agree there too. Like there's tons of money to be made in that type of gaming genre. So if they go that direction and it works, it is what it is. But I think the people behind the scenes didn't like that direction. Sony also didn't care for it. They weren't supporting of that vision. And he was like, man, look, I'm out. I've never failed you guys yet when it comes to money, bringing in money to the company. Now you're doubting me. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I'm already tired of traveling around. Fuck you guys. I'm out. Screw you guys. I'm going home. Right? That's what I
see. That was terrible. I could do that. I could definitely do that way better.
Do it.
No, I just don't feel like.
I
always like I said, I always default to people that are old. He was at PlayStation for 30 something years. Like
he was
to me, that's like when somebody's there for a very long time, especially, I just always default to they're retired and they're old. But that's just me.
That's not unfair though. I agree with you. He has been there for a long time. So this is just tinfoil hattery right here.
I mean, it is tinfoil hattery. But why do you? I mean, shout out to Boba Fett. He's like grew the studios only to have layoffs and no roadmap. That's pretty funny.
Pretty sure PlayStation amongst like everybody, PlayStation has had like some of the least amount of layoffs amongst anybody. They've definitely had them, but
that's true.
Amongst everybody, they have like the least.
It's true.
Yeah.
But you can admit that's funny because they don't have a roadmap. But if you look at it, Jim Ryan, the other thing, there's just a lot that feeds into it for me to say there's something more going on here. And whether it's he's fired or he retired because I'm sick of this shit or I can't get this company to turn the way I want it to turn or for whatever reason, I still think it wasn't not amicable, but I still think it was unrequited, like the way he parted. Because what did he do? Like he didn't really do anything. He came in, he raised some prices, and he was like, "Fuck you, I'm out." I mean, that's a very truncated assessment of his tenure, but he didn't do anything. Like there's no legacy there to walk away from. Sean Layden can look back at PlayStation with pride, like absolute pride. That man was a genius, and he saw the way the wind was blowing, and he knew what to do to get it back on track, right? Because there was a moment there where PlayStation was teetering a little bit. But Jim, like, I don't know if I want to look back on my tenure and go, well, I navigated the chip shortage, and that's I guess.
To be fair, Sean Layden was there longer though, so like I said, we can't know until we have a few more years to see what comes out in the next 3 years.
True. That is true, and we're going to find out.
That's my only thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So if they pivot,
if the next 3 years are trash, that's definitely Jim Ryan's fault.
Yeah. I mean, if they do a hard pivot, and if a lot of these games that we've seen get cancelled, and they hard pivot back to what they've been doing well at for a long time, they do need some multiplayer stuff, 110%. But they should not at the cost of the single player games that they make, because that is what they are good at. Like you should never get rid of those.
I agree.
What Jim Ryan did with the 6nm chip and moving over to that was excellent. I mean, the chip shortage was really and I mean everybody lost sales because of it, but that was a very, very smart move on his behalf.
Yeah,
I would throw this last part out there as well, is that it's been shadiness in general when it comes to Sony and their management and teams and people they've let go. I mean, Sean Layden is another one. We speak of Sean Layden. He was let go unceremoniously. So I think where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a pattern there. Connie,
Yeah,
Sean
that was
Layden,
different. That
Jim
was an
Ross.
internal
Jim
power
Ryan
struggle
wasn't Jim Ross.
between Jim
Ross.
Ryan and Sean Layden. So I think it's a little bit of a different situation.
No, I think it's all related. I think very unceremonious for both in general, and Connie being another one, where PlayStation had to just come out and admit it because it was out there already by David Jaffe and his sources. All of them have been very unceremonious compared from what you would think they would get, having been with Sony for so long. I'm just being as fair as I can with it. To me, it just looks shady.
Yeah, I agree. There is. I think there's more going on behind the scenes, but we can just sit here and speculate all day, or we can move on to the next topic. What's up, Mav? Good to see you in the chat, bro. We've got to move on to the next topic. We're going to jump around a bit because we burnt up a fair bit of time. Before we do, hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. So MPD results. We didn't get a chance to talk about this, and it's a good conversation to have, especially because we've got BG here. And be interested to know sort of his thoughts. When you see PlayStation games such as Starfield sitting at the top of the top of the list for September's 2023 as the top selling game, and you see you see it sitting 7th overall for the year. I mean, obviously that will change with Spider-Man. I don't think it's going to get knocked out of his top 10 spot. And this is there's 2 games in this. These lists that are more than 2. There's 3 games in this list that are on Game Pass. You got Payday 3, that was on Game Pass. That's sitting in the top 5 for September. And you've also got MLB The Show again in Game Pass. You could argue that PlayStation's probably where it sells the most. But when you look at Starfield being top of the list, right, on the MPD charts, and obviously they're not always trustworthy. We've seen that in the past, but you got to imagine it's fairly accurate. That sort of destroys the narrative of Game Pass cannibalizes its sales. I mean, I would always commonsensically think that, of course, it's going to eat up some of its sales, right? People. I haven't bought Halo Infinite. I did buy Starfield, but I never bought Halo Infinite, right? Because I would have, but obviously it's sort of misstepped, and then I was like, I ain't going to buy it. But I always know it's going to be on Game Pass, so you can understand the rationale that, of course, it's going to eat sales, but it doesn't seem to have a massive effect, or it hasn't seemed to have a massive effect on Starfield. And there's plenty of arguments around this, and I'm interested to hear everyone. So, BG, I don't know your stance, your hardcore stance on Game Pass, but I know you have concern about it. So, does this allay any concerns you have about Game Pass?
I mean, I don't really have concerns about Game Pass. I'm just, to me, I don't use it because, like, I don't really, I just don't see any value in anybody's subscription service for games. So, yeah, I'm just like, I just buy all my games, a la carte. I don't really see any need for any of that stuff. But I think Game Pass and the games that benefit from it is a case by case basis. I think there are some games that will absolutely benefit from it, and some games that it'll either do nothing for or maybe negatively affect it. So I think it all depends on the type of game, and I think that's mainly why you see, like, the games that go into Game Pass day one outside of Xbox games are mainly like AA games, mainly because, as we've seen, like, from that leaked chart, like the price of these AAA games, how much they would charge to get them in Game Pass. And those developers know that we would make more from just selling our game than just putting it in Game Pass and selling it. They have that confidence in their game that they know they have that type of brand that doesn't behoove them to do that. So I think it best helps AA games. And some AAA games that may be like newer IPs, like Lies of P. I think that game's amazing, and I platinumed it and everything. And they still managed to sell 1 million. I think that game is worthy of selling multi-millions. I feel like that game isn't getting the attention it deserved. But I don't think Game Pass helps something like Lies of P simply because of the type of game it is. Game Pass is a game where people can go try out games maybe they weren't typically into. But a Souls games is one of those games that's so specific. It's not something someone typically, I'm just going to sample it and see if I like it. It's Souls games because of, like, the difficulty and everything that's required of its commitment. It's one of those things you have to be very intentional about. So I don't think it hurts Liza P, but I don't think it does anything for it. It's, other games that are more accessible, because, Souls games are not accessible at all. Other games that are more accessible, but people may be unsure about, it's good for those type of games. And like I said, mainly the double A.
I think that was the case before, BG, but I think it's turning around now. I think Starfield was, as we all speculated and said, was going to be really, really important to the service and Microsoft in general. And it showed that, right? And it landed exactly where they needed it to as far as things go. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves as far as what we're seeing. Unprecedented numbers and Game Pass growth in a single day, et cetera, et cetera. Starfield being number 6, so selling the most in September, et cetera, et cetera. So I think clearly it can happen with third party, or at least AAA games. It just had been a case that historically it had been AA and indie type games. As far as Liza P, I still haven't gotten to that, by the way. I need to get to that. That's crazy praise, by the way, because I know you like Souls types games, so that's some crazy good praise, and I got to get to that. But for that to do well as well, like you said, to sell 1 million, and then you wanted to sell more, it did do them a favor because I think we often ignore that these developers got paid off, and we've seen the numbers leak because of the whole trial situation with the FTC and CMA, whatever. The amount of money that Microsoft tends to pay these developers and studios to get their games on the service, for all we know, they could have got a very lucrative deal to get that game on there. You know what I mean? So we don't know that detail specifically. So I can't quite say that Game Pass hurt it. I think it helped it very much so as far as getting it recognition, because I don't think it would have got even 1 million sales had it not been on Game Pass personally. So what about you, Holly? What's your thoughts on that as far as Game Pass and its growth? Do you think, what was Risk's original posed question on that, Pete?
So look, do
did
you
it
think the
dispel the
Game Pass
narrative?
actually hurts
Right.
or cannibalizes sales?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I guess to BG and to a good point that Umbra made there. Sorry, I stepped out for 2 seconds because my dog is barking at the chicken next door. Like, it's a good point, right? I don't think it would have got the recognition, so it wouldn't have made the sales. So I don't think that Game Pass really hurt Liza P, if you're using that as an example. But then when you're talking about, say, Alan Wake, that doesn't work in that sort of service. But I think it's a tool and an option that developers can use to make smaller games. Even AAA developers. We've seen Capcom make that, the Path of the Goddess, Ni no Kuni, or whatever it's called.
Ni no Kuni.
Well, I don't know what the name of it is, but like that's
I know what you mean, but that's funny.
that's going into Game Pass, right? And so say you got a budget of 5 mil, you pay 10 mil to get it in Game Pass, and then you've made 5 mil. That's a good tool for developers to bring in some extra cash. I don't think just small developers either. And I'm hoping that the industry's starting to see this as a tool that it can use. But yeah, Pete, I'll jump to you, man. Like, do you think Starfield sitting at the top of the ranking for September sort of dispels that narrative that Game Pass does cannibalize sales?
Starfield's a tough one because it's a Bethesda game and their first new IP in 25 years, and Bethesda has a massive PC following, a massive PC audience. I was very surprised, and this year sales have been crazy, and for it to be sitting 7th overall this year, I think that's a very, and the rest of them, I think all being, a third-party game that comes out on all platforms, that shows you that it's been incredibly successful. Now, I would have thought that Game Pass would cannibalize sales. I think that's just the nature of the beast. I didn't buy Starfield, but I got the, added version so I could play it early because, FOMO. I don't believe
that's
in
a good point. I think that
supporting
helped.
developers and all that kind of crap. Yeah, I really do. I think that really, really did help. And I think most people were playing it, when I was playing it as well. Lies of P, I get your point, BG. It's a Souls type game, and people that love those games typically buy them. I personally didn't play it because I was waiting for Lords of the Fallen. That was more my style, and I didn't want to play two games that were so similar back to back. I do think this is, going to be maybe an unpopular opinion, but I do think that Game Pass cannibalizes sales. I don't possibly see how it can't.
I guess in a rational, when you look at it rationally, it can, but there's nuance to it, right? Because
does that hurt profit? Like, because you got to take into account the amount of money that Microsoft are paying these people, and I suppose that's what the developers have to take into account as well.
When they're making the deals, that's right. I mean, and to Umbra's point, look at Lies of P's resounding success because people are playing it. It's getting great scores. People are posting out gameplay of the game. When it comes out of Game Pass, gives it more coverage. And it probably did more sales because of the fact that it was in Game Pass. If you only own a PlayStation, but you're on Twitter and you see a lot of guys playing Lies of P and it looks good, and you're hearing good things, you might jump into it. Blue, same question to you. I got asked, do you think this sort of dispels that narrative that the Game Pass completely cannibalizes sales? Ignore Pete. He's a PlayStation show. Peter.
Without knowing any numbers, you would assume it does, right? But isn't Xbox always dropping sale data and supposedly claiming that they've actually seen an uptick in the purchase of games? And where I can see that being true is the fact that I play way more games that I wouldn't necessarily have been willing to put my money into. But then when I do play them, games that are really special to me, I still buy when they're on sale because I want them in my library forever. Because we do see a lot of games come in and out of Game Pass, right? Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that it's going to come back at any given time. I mean, first party, you kind of assume it's going to be there for the long haul, but even those I've bought. Like I bought The Outer Worlds because I adore that game, right? And I want to own it. So I don't know. Xbox's data supposedly supports, but I do think that ultimately, like BG said, that Game Pass is very good for small games and AA games because Lies of P probably, and I've heard a lot of Souls players say that Lies of P is far better than Lords of the Fallen. And well, as far as a Souls game go, they say Lies of P is far superior to Lords of the Fallen. And would anybody necessarily know that if they hadn't, or would they have the opportunity to do that? Because to Pete's point, they came out way too close together. And then they also came out way too close. Well, Lies of P came out way too close to Starfield. So I don't know that it would have gotten the time of day that it did without Game Pass.
I think one thing that's really hard to quantify is the word of mouth that gets around because of Game Pass as well. Like, so because so many people are trying out the game and then, they're talking about the game and then people that don't have Game Pass will then go on to buy the game because, people are talking about it on Twitter and things like that. So I think that's a very, very hard number to quantify. But obviously Xbox has these numbers. I mean, they specifically said that it doesn't cannibalize sales. And, I have to.
Like, I would have not bought Cocoon and played it had it not been in Game Pass. Because honestly, I probably wouldn't have even heard of it. Yeah. And it is a fantastic game.
Oh, you bought that game?
No, but I'm saying I wouldn't have played it. And I would actually consider buying, because I bought Limbo and Inside because I love those games, even though they are in Game Pass.
Yeah.
And in this world of social media, you then pass on that information to other people that then will then play the game. And that's what I was talking about with being really hard to quantify.
I don't think she's going to pass on that information because I beat her. I finished it before her. So
you did not. You did not.
So, you did not. She doesn't want to tell. You can see now she doesn't want to tell people. I mean, it's just
there's podcast proof otherwise. But the other thing it does though is that it also, like, I played Cocoon. It was fantastic. And I tell every PC and PS player, you should go get Cocoon and play it, right? So it's got to boost sales on other platforms too.
BG?
Yeah. No, it's just the only games that just doesn't make any sense for are the ones that are proven sellers already. Like established, this game is going to sell a lot by itself. So it doesn't make sense for those games. But everything else in between that, it'll help. And I mean, that's why they're giving you the money. That's the trade-off. They're giving you the money up front to cover the cost of the sales you might be foregoing, because they know, yeah, you might be foregoing some sales. So here's that to cover it up front. You don't have to worry about how much your game is going to sell, if that's something that, these people who are making the deal are probably worried about. So here's immediate money, and then you could see what you make later on the back end.
And it's
I
the
don't think
marketing
Game
tool
Pass
too.
works.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not
I don't
just
think
the
Game Pass
sales.
works without PlayStation. Sorry, Holly.
No, I was just gonna say it's a marketing tool to put it in Game Pass. It's not just about purely sales, right?
Yeah, and then you get the added advantage of being on an Xbox showcase front and center with millions of people's eyeballs on it. But I was just going to say that I don't think Game Pass works without PlayStation, because they know they're going to get the PlayStation sales, which is, the console with, the most amount of consoles out there. They see Xbox players playing the game. Yes, it might be on Game Pass, but through word of mouth, that goes out. PlayStation players want to play it. So, it's a kind of really crazy symbiotic relationship between Game Pass and PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard anyone sort of put it that way, but it's a pretty good point.
And I have a hot take. I know a lot of people aren't gonna like, but and it may seem cruel. I think I kind of believe in this survival of the fittest when it comes to games. That if your game comes out and fails, it probably should have. I just kind of look at it that way. I don't, because I feel like that's the natural way of games that weren't good enough, for the most part, not making it. And I that's kind of how I look at it. If your game wasn't good enough to make a profit, to sustain you, to keep you going, then that's kind of the natural order of things in the gaming industry. It because I do believe the cream rises to the top, and the best will survive. Mostly, sometimes that's not the case, but I think the cream does rise to the crop. So if studios close, if games fail, I kind of don't feel they should have this safety net.
So, I mean, that's an interesting sort of take on it. Yeah. So then you think that I guess by default you're saying there that Game Pass helps bad studios persist and continue to make bad games. I mean, you could take it that way. It's probably not what you're saying, but is that
not necessarily always bad? Because there are good games that sometimes don't get the sales that they need. But I'm saying it's survival of the fittest. It means your game may not be bad, but there's way better in comparison, and those just out-survived you.
One thing I love about Game Pass BG is the fact that it allows studios to take risks. We've seen so many sequels and remakes and remasters that Game Pass allows those studios to take those artistic, games that they most likely wouldn't have made without that benefit of having Game Pass, backing them up. And that's what I love about Game Pass as well.
Yeah. And they get a second, you might have a game that doesn't quite hit. I guess Remnant's a pretty good example. It wasn't in Game Pass, but of a game that didn't quite nail it out the gate, but was good and needed a sort of a sequel to come. I mean, I guess Days Gone's another one, right? I mean, didn't quite nail it. There's some stuff that they definitely got wrong in there, and some stuff they definitely did right. But with a sequel, I think that game could have been tidied up and could have been one of those bangers. It's a pity that Ben got shut down with that. But yeah, I don't know. I see Game Pass.
Remnant 1 was great. And after Remnant 1 got put on Game Pass, that's when it really blew up as well. So I think Game Pass was excellent.
Yeah, but you're a Souls shill. You can't be trusted with Souls games.
It's so funny that people are so mad at that take, though. When I say that, when that's how things have been for the most part. That's the way things usually worked. And
it's capitalism 101, isn't it, bro?
Yeah, that's why it's when people hear me say that, I'm like, bro, you realize that's how the industry has worked, pretty much since we've been alive and since its inception. I'm just telling you that's how it's, and you've had no problem. People have had no problem with it working that way. It's now only somebody saying it out loud. Oh my God, that's terrible. No, that's how it's always been.
Yeah, but it's
don't you put that evil on us,
BG, I think, is the fact that games just cost so much more to develop. And I think the whole industry needed something like Game Pass. And I go back to my point before. I mean, we've just seen too many remakes,
Yeah, well,
too many remasters, no one taking chances anymore.
Well, that's where I was about to go. I think it's sort of got to a point where, due to cost development, risk aversion, all that sort of stuff, it's sort of started funneling down into, like, especially in the AAA space, funneling down to a point where it's like, hey, these are the bangers that work. These are the Assassin's Creed that works. These are the Last of Us that works. Let's remaster these or remake these or try to make sequels to these that follow that, the sort of the same vein. And yeah, I don't think that's good for gaming over. Whether it's how it works or not, I could agree. That's probably how it works. But is it good for gaming as a whole, for gamers? I mean, I don't think so. I think it's good to have disruptors like Game Pass come in and provide another option, not just for gamers, but for developers. Even a AAA publisher. Again, I go back to Capcom, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the game. Umbra laugh at me again, but they've got a smaller title that they're trying out. Obviously, they've got a team of developers on that. I imagine the budget's small, and I imagine what Game Pass or Xbox, Microsoft has paid them probably covers that development and then a little bit of profit on top to take that risk, right? I don't see that as a bad thing. That game could come out, be an absolute banger. Plus, you got your sales on PlayStation. I think that that's good for the industry. As to how it's been working, I would agree. I would agree with that. But I don't think it's, we've seen some developers come out with amazing games that hit. Next game's terrible. You look at Arcane, then Redfall, and then we've seen developers come out with games that are just, terrible, and then come have a good comeback story and make it a good game. I think Bethesda has one of those stories where there was a point at which they made a really bad game and it didn't hit, and it almost shut the studio down. And then if it had, we wouldn't have got, the Elder Scrolls Online and all those sorts of games. So, I mean,
Point to Sea of Thieves, even
Sea of Thieves, yeah.
Rebound. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a lot of success stories that I'll credit Game Pass with, and I think there's more reason why more people in the community and in developers and studios in general should be praising it and be all aboard for it. Especially with like smaller titles where they're not as confident, they can put that into Game Pass and take that risk.
Yeah. I mean, and again, not to say, like, to your point, BG, agreed, like, it's not for every game. It is definitely not for every game. As much as I'd love to see Alan Wake, hit Game Pass, that'd be awesome for me as a consumer. That just does not make any sense for Remedy to put Alan Wake with the quality of that title. And I'm not saying that only bad quality games should go to Game Pass, but that would cost Microsoft a lot of money to get that title into Game Pass. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense for lots of different games, and then there's obviously a few that it doesn't make sense for. But I mean, that's why it's good to have the options for developers, for gamers, and as a platform. I'd like to see PlayStation step more into that with their PS Plus. And have that as an option for the guys over there, even though it's not really up your alley. I would assume, I've heard lots of Taryn is a PlayStation guy who said, I would never get Game Pass. I would never get PS Plus. What do you do, Umbra? Like day one when they relaunched that new PS Plus tiers.
Immediately got it.
Immediately.
And tried to praise it as better than Game Pass. I'm like, boy, you just... I'm mad that you're from Chicago. I'm mad about that.
Oh, he's in Chicago?
Nah, yeah.
Where's he live? No, I'm kidding. Well, look, it's been
shout out to Taryn, but he is a shield for PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
He's like ridiculously so.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like with that guy that came in the chat earlier, man, like I will give smoke where smoke is. I don't shill for the box. I play around on Twitter a lot and wind people up, but when it comes to, if you want real talk, this is where I do the real talk, and I'm going to give Xbox smoke when they deserve it, and PlayStation when they deserve it. But it's been a great show. Fantastic show. Before I do the outros, I just want to say, guys, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. If you're in Australia, it's 11 a.m. in the East, and West Coast, Best Coast, 8 a.m. where I am. That's why it's the best. And we got to get out of here. But before we do, Broken Games HD, man, thank you for coming through, BG. Absolute champ. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. And I know you got messed around a little bit as well. So apologies for that, bro. And it's good to get your takes, man. And the integrity that I get from Weapon Wheel is awesome. And it is the podcast that I go to. I go to a couple, and yours is one of them. I don't make it live, but it's always good to tune in and listen. So his show is down in the description. You can hit that and go and subscribe to that, because it is one of the best PlayStation podcasts that's going around, and you'll get honest takes. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, appreciate the invite. Yeah, Weapon Wheel podcast is on Sundays. We're supposed to be moving to 5 o'clock now. We originally we started like years ago at 6:30, then we moved to 5:45. Now I'm trying to move it to 5 o'clock because I hate staying up late. So yeah, we should be going live at 5 o'clock this Sunday. So EST. So thanks for the invite.
Some old man talk there. I don't like staying up late.
I'm very old. I go to bed very early, bro.
If you want to find any of our guests or panel, you can head down into the description and click on the links, and it'll take you straight there. But definitely, 100% subscribe to that.
Broken Games channel in the chat. So click on that. Subscribe to his channel, guys. It's actually the place I go to get my PlayStation information as well.
Yeah, and it is good. And they have obviously differing takes to us, but different takes to each other, and they go at it. It's good to hear. I love it. Real talk. Umbra, another fantastic week. Fix was good this week as well, man. I caught a little bit of it, not live, but let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to, what you got planned, what you're going to play, what you're excited about. Tell us about your life. Not your whole life. Don't do your whole life.
I was just about to. You just ruined it. Like I was about to start telling you where I come from and like how I was raised and why mustard is the only condiment that you should have on a hot dog.
This is crazy.
I'm mad that you all put ketchup on a hot dog still. That still bothers me. But anyway, no, great show here, guys. BG, thanks for joining us again, brother. Of course, all love to my co-panels and host here and host and everything. And to the chat, thank you all for being here and holding us down as you always do. For the fix, this week was really good, like you said. If you all have not subscribed to that, check me. What the hell was that?
What do you put on hamburgers?
Was that me clicking in the background? Apologies.
Well, hamburgers, I'll put ketchup on that too. Like I might put ketchup on a hamburger. Maybe.
Sacrilege. You put ketchup on hamburgers?
Maybe. Maybe. It's definitely. If I made my own hamburger, it would be the burger, onions, maybe lettuce here and there, whatever.
Hey, you mustard. No, you don't. You don't put ketchup. You don't put ketchup on hamburgers, man. You put Vegemite. Avocados.
That sounds disgusting. Sounds very disgusting.
This is the best way to make it. Vegemite, avocado, and beetroot. That's how you. And then aioli.
Beetroot.
Oh my gosh! Stop it.
Aioli? Maybe I can see that. I can see aioli, but did you say beetroot?
Beetroot, yeah.
That sounds like some stuff.
I'm not even sure what that is. Is that just beets?
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know what that is. It's stuff black folks don't eat that. I don't know, Risk.
What do you mean? It's beetroot. Beets. I mean, I guess it's beets. Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, black folks don't eat
beets
that.
are disgusting.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Black folks don't eat. I'm telling you, black folks don't eat beets. We don't do BG. Have you ever had a beet and just like almost?
The only thing I know about beets is they were talked about in a cartoon when I was a little kid. Was it Doug?
Yeah, see?
That's the only thing
we
I know
don't eat
about
that.
beets.
Oh man,
we don't eat that.
It's like
no, beets are disgusting.
No, I'm gonna need to
don't go there.
I'm gonna need to fly over there and make some hamburgers, and you guys is gonna
be grandma's pickled beets forever, and they're gross.
Oh, they're pickled.
They're disgusting.
Yeah, they're pickled.
Don't want that.
And
it doesn't matter. They're all gross. It doesn't matter.
No, it does. I'm gonna send you some beets now, man.
No, do not. They'll go straight in the rubbish.
No, you've got to try one.
The other ones by Dre. I don't want anything else. But no,
that's right.
That's it. But you guys, of course, can find me on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call this thing nowadays. Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. Tuesdays, of course, the Xbox Factor with Boom and Cast at 12 o'clock Eastern. And the Fix, if you all could subscribe to a brother's channel, I would appreciate that. If you all come through sometime too. Chat. I appreciate it, brother. And that's at 8 o'clock Eastern on Thursday. So, and BG, I had you on there before. I got to get you back sometime soon. It'd have been perfect to have you on for the Spider-Man.
Yeah, just let me know.
Yeah, I got you, brother. Thank you.
Australians are living in New Game Plus and eat food that hardens their soul. Thank you. That's true.
Yeah, it's the only way you all survive out there. I get it.
Best chat of the night.
Pete, another fantastic show. Sorry, got a bit derailed by the food again. I don't understand. These guys don't know what beetroot, man. They don't know. They just don't know. I mean, I know if you don't know, Pete, like is first generation Australian, right? So like you came over when you were young, and he discovered beetroot. And if you guys haven't had it, right? It's amazing. Yeah.
I was born here.
Oh, you born here? I couldn't tell. It was the accent. That throws me off.
Yeah, amazing. We got like through half our topics today, so I don't know what that'll happen today, but it was amazing to have BG on the show. Honestly, guys, check out his channel. There's a lot of PlayStation shields out there, but his integrity is, I think, second to none. So I did link the fix, although shame on you if you're not subscribed, but I also understand.
Yeah, I've seen the
I want
show
to get
too,
back
man.
to playing Lords of the Fallen. So
I picked
you can
up on
find me
that.
at JediKnightPeter everywhere. Let's go.
Absolutely. Blue, another fantastic week. It's cool topics. Some good that's why we did get through all the topics, some good stuff to talk about that came up. And that's the best kind of podcasts. Yeah, so Blue, let people know where they can find you and what you'll be up to for the rest of the week. What are you playing? Are you gonna play Wake? You gonna play Alan Wake too?
So BG, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. It was good talking
Thank
to you.
Don't ignore my question.
I'll get to you, sir. I actually never played the first one, so I bought the remaster last night, which I heard it's only 10 to 13 hours. So I'm gonna burn through that really quickly, and then I'm gonna get to and play it. Probably with my hands over my eyes 3/4 of the time because I'm a giant chicken, but that'll be fun. It'll add time to my gaming. So
yeah, and we are running a bit low, right? So I mean, you got to stick with Alan Wake 1 because there's a bit of a drag to start with, and then you sort of get into the story. But yeah, it's another awesome week. You didn't tell anyone where they can find you. Where can we find you, Blue?
I am now officially at ThatBlueNumber everywhere. So Twitter and PlayStation and Nintendo and Xbox, of course.
Nintendo. Amazing platform.
Mario Wonder. I've been playing Mario Wonder too. I'm the only person on this panel who's playing the game of the year.
I like to play adult games. That's my main.
Wait, Starfield. What are you talking
I'm
about?
playing Wonder also. I'm enjoying it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Is it?
I love Mario 2D. I just don't like the 3D Marios. That's a hot take too. I prefer 2D.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you don't like Mario 64?
I do not like Mario 3D. Any of them.
Oh my goodness. That's just
What's the matter with you?
The 2D are better. The 2D are better. That second level in the
All was
intro where
amazing
the
game.
flowers sing. I'm topping over all of you because I'm gonna get my point out. Where the flowers sing to you. Oh my gosh, the piranha plants. It's just so good.
All right, I'll probably got to check
Mushroom
this out.
Kingdom or Flower Kingdom? Which one's better?
I got to check this out.
Do you even have a Switch?
That's
what I thought.
I don't have a Switch,
but don't talk about it on here.
There's
many ways to get it.
There is ways. Yeah, there's ways.
Stop being that way. Go
Even
get a Switch.
legally, you can buy it and still play it on your Switch.
I don't want to know about all that. Get a Switch. Play Mario Wonder.
Yeah. I'm not buying a console that's like got tech from the 1950s. It's not. I don't want to support that. Anyway, it was a fantastic show, BG. Again, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. You guys in the chat have been absolutely awesome as you are every week. Really appreciate you guys supporting us. We didn't go live last week. I had technical issues that I just could not resolve, unfortunately. So that was a bit of a mess up on my part. So apologies for that. What I will tell you is that I have a baby on the way, and that baby is coming in the next week and a bit. So I'm not sure what will happen next week. We'll see how it goes. If the baby's rocking and rolling and it's all good, then it's all good. If it's not, then you won't hear from us next week. Maybe 50-50. We'll see what happens. But yeah, fantastic show. Thank you guys in the chat. Thank you, BG. Thank you, panel. You guys are amazing. And we'll see you all hopefully next week.
Later.
Bye.
Later, Tater. I'm sorry.
Are you cozy now, bro?